150 feet north of Hana Highway on the dirt road.
You know, I object if this is for impeachment purposes. If he's just reading from the report.
Is sustained.
So here you're testifying that you folks walked from the bay to the refrigerator, but isn't it true that you told Officer Takushi that you folks drove from the bay second turnaround area up the road to a first turnaround area?
That is what I said in there.
We're looking at your statement to Officer Takushi, refresh your recollections.
Yes.
May I approach?
Yes, you may approach.
Isn't it accurate that what you told Officer Takushi is that you folks drove from that first turnaround to the second turnaround?
It does say that we parked at the second turnaround and then walked down to the bay, but at the end it does say that we drove. I don't recall saying that though.
So what it is saying though is that you did not walk from the first turnaround or the second turnaround where you guys parked first, but that your statement was that you guys actually drove back up the road, right?
Judge, objection, that's improper impeachment as to what the report says.
May I approach on it? At some point, however you get there, you go, you decide, well, you personally, I guess, stay near the dirt road by the refrigerator.
Yeah, I just walked along the dirt road in the bushes.
And that's while Max and Molly enter the forest area at about that spot?
Yes.
And I guess before we get there, would it be true that your testimony on direct was that even as early as the time that you guys were at the bay, before going back up the dirt road, there was only a little bit of light at that time?
Yes.
That was your testimony in direct, right?
Yes.
And in fact, you went on to say that it was getting dark as you were leaving the Bay Area, right?
Yes. The Bay Area, yeah, it was getting darker.
And because of that, you testified that you folks stuck close to each other while you walked back up that dirt road, right?
Yes.
Why did you do that?
Walking up the dirt road, are we stuck together?
Why did you guys stick together? I mean, on direct testimony, it sounded like you guys were like huddled together almost. Is that accurate?
Objection, that misstates testimony, Your Honor.
The objection is sustained.
Let me clarify your testimony. It sounded like...
I object, she was not unclear. That's commentary.
On direct? I'm clarifying her direct.
Let's get the next question, please.
When you testified on direct, you talked about sticking together, right?
Yes.
Now, When you guys were sticking together, is it like you guys were huddled all together, touching each other, or can you describe that?
As we were walking from the bay up to her car, it was a narrow road, so we were definitely close together, but not huddled.
When you say it was a narrow road, I guess can you approximate the width of that dirt road near the Bay Area, I guess?
I would say like 2 people could spread out their arms and be able to reach each side of the road.
Okay, so if I were to spread my hands out, if another person were touching my fingers, that would be about the width?
Yeah.
Okay. And so there were 3 of you folks on that path?
Yes.
Again, were you guys touching each other, or?
We may have touched, but no, not really.
Aside from the width of the path, was there any other reason why you folks were sticking together?
No.
So it was getting dark. Was it easy to walk on the terrain?
Not really, no.
Okay, were you guys using your flashlights on your phones yet?
Not at that point, no.
So at some point, they enter the forest area. How much time between being at the bay and when they entered the forest area?
It was right around her car that they entered, and I entered as well.
Okay, so I guess, what was the length of time that it took you folks to get from the Bay Area to that area?
About 10 minutes, maybe less.
And so I take it that within that 10 minutes it's getting even darker, right?
Kind of in Hana, it's a little weird, so it's almost as if the sun stays in its exact spot, and then all of a sudden it's pitch black.
Okay, but it was already getting dark when you were at the bay, right? There was only a little bit of light, right?
It was the sun was somewhat
And now
setting.
guys are going
I
actually.
object because she didn't finish her last sentence.
Just state your comments, please.
Okay, can we hear her last sentence, her response?
Will you finish with your response?
Which one? About
Because, you were asked a question about, but it was already getting dark when you were at the bay. Right there, there's only a little bit of light, right? And then you answered it.
the sun
It
was.
was, yeah, the sun was somewhat setting. Were you finished with your response?
Somewhat. So the sun was somewhat setting, but since it does, in Hana it is a little bit weird with the sun setting. It usually stays light for quite a while, and then, yes, all of a sudden it will become pitch black. So it was still about the same light, daylight from the time that we were at the bay.
You'd agree with me that Hana isn't unique in the sense that it gets lighter after it's already dark, right?
It does not get lighter.
So fair to say that if it's already get only a little light by the bay, as you folks are walking back into the forest, during that 10 minutes in particular, it's getting even darker, right?
It stayed about the same light.
Even though there's trees now and the area that Max and Molly enter would be characterized as a forest.
Yeah, I believe so.
Lots of trees, right?
Yeah.
Lots of bushes.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I take it that if it's getting dark, you had to do some feeling around, grabbing things so that you don't fall?
When it got darker, yes.
No objection, Your Honor, it's non-responsive at this time.
The objection is overruled. You may answer this question.
I mean, you'd agree with me that as you enter the forest area, it's even rougher terrain than the dirt area, right?
Yes.
And that, as a practical matter, as you walk through this forest area, you pretty much gotta grab branches and stuff to keep your balance.
Somewhat, yes.
And your testimony is that at some point, did you enter the forest before you found the DVD?
Yes, I had entered in with Max and Molly.
And you described how you did find the DVD first, right?
Yes.
And was your testimony that you found that face up or face down?
It was face up.
Can you describe the location? Was it in proximity to anything else, or was it like in an open field?
It was more open where the DVD was. It was next to the fridge, and there's one step down from the dirt road into the terrain, and then another step down, so it was right at that second step down.
Okay, was it next to anything, like any trees or anything?
I mean, there were trees around, but at that spot it was actually pretty open.
So it wasn't at the base of any tree or anything?
No.
I'm sorry?
No.
And so, what do you do when you find that?
I had taken a picture, and then I picked it up, heard Max and Molly calling my name, and walked towards them.
Okay, I'm sorry. Did you say that, I know you said that there were trees around, but relative to that DVD, was it found next to a tree or not?
It could have been. I'm sorry, I don't really recall too much.
Now, I'm sorry, when you find that, what do you do?
I had picked it up and heard Max and Molly calling my name, so I took it with me to go find them.
Okay, and you take the DVD with you?
Yes, I did.
Now, you testified that you had no machete or any kind of similar weapon, right?
No.
Or tool.
No.
But when you testified about that particular point, well, I'm sorry, relative to that point, your testimony was that you didn't pay any attention. Well, I guess you were asked whether Molly and or Max had any machetes or anything like that, and what was your answer to that?
I believe Molly may have had one, but I'm not too positive. I know I didn't. I don't think Max did.
So Molly had a what?
Objection, Your Honor, she doesn't know.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you said Molly. You thought Molly had something.
Molly could have had something, but that's just based on her character. I know that she's a part of MISC and has that kind of stuff.
What do you mean by that?
Just that she carries those kinds of things around.
Do you know why?
I mean, being a part of MISC, she traveled around the terrain a lot.
Okay, so Molly works for Maui Invasive Species, whatever the C stands for.
Yeah, she did at that point.
Okay. I see what you're saying. Now, if I'm not mistaken, you paid particular attention in testifying that you paid particular attention to not move anything that was there, if I recall correctly, right?
Yes.
Yet you answered that in response to no question asking you that, right?
Judge, objection, this is argumentative.
The objection is sustained.
Were you ever asked a question by Mr. Rivera on direct whether you took particular attention not to move anything?
Objection, relevance, and there's no testimony of this.
The objection is sustained.
Why would you testify to that?
Objection vague.
The objection is sustained.
Well, why did you say that?
Again, objection vague.
She said it. I'm just asking why she said it. What's so vague about that? She said it on the direct, and I'm just...
That is what.
I'm sorry?
When you refer to that, what are you referring to?
She testified in direct that she paid particular attention to not moving anything that was there. And I'm examining her, and I'm just asking her why.
You may answer.
Later on, I did, of course, everyone should know not to move anything from an investigation. But I did move something. I was kind of freaked out. I don't know why I did.
Okay,
So-
but you remember when you did testify to that, that was just in the context of when you were walking through the woods before finding anything, right?
Yes, I had
Okay.
said that.
So why would you say that relative to that point in time, even before finding anything?
I had said that whole part afterwards. I know that they all know not to touch anything. We all stuck together, make sure that we can find anything on the ground. But yeah, I don't know why I had touched that,
Touch what?
the DVD.
But even before you touched the DVD, your testimony was that while you were walking through the woods before finding it, you were making sure not to move anything, right?
Yes.
I mean, to be clear, when you testified about thinking that was before you found anything, right?
Yes.
You didn't know you were going to find anything, right?
No.
So why would you say that?
Judge, that's been asked and answered. This is the third time.
The objection is sustained.
Thank you.
In the area that you folks entered the forest, can we agree that there were no trails?
No,
Judge,
ma'am.
hold on. Objection is a vagueness of trails.
I'll sustain the objection. If you could make that, in terms of time and place, more specific, I would appreciate it.
Relative to the area that Max and Molly entered by the refrigerator, was there any pre-existing path in that area?
Not that I saw. The spot that we went off of was like the best trail that we could find, or opening.
Would you call it a trail like you just did, or was that?
It was more just an opening.
Okay. And when you say just an opening, it was a way to enter into the forest. Were there any, for example, depressed bushes or any other characteristics of a trail?
Not that I recall, no.
So other than the refrigerator being there as a landmark, it was essentially a random spot to enter the forest?
Yes.
Because when you talk about being careful about not touching anything before finding anything, you'd agree with me that you had to touch things to not fall down, right?
Somewhat, yes.
It's getting dark, you're in a forest, hard not to touch things, right?
Yeah.
at some point, when Max and Molly go into the forest, you were separated from them. Is that accurate?
Yes, I had kept on walking in my path and they walked in different.
How long did you stay on that path before going into the forest?
It was no more than 5 minutes.
So safe to say we're 15 minutes past when it was only a little dark by the bay, right? And it was already a little dark by the bay, right?
It was getting dark.
So can we agree that it's even darker now in the area where you're at this point in time?
Not too much.
And at some point you do enter the forest area?
Yes.
I guess why do you choose to enter the forest area rather than stay on the dirt?
Because I know that her ping was in the forest area.
And you knew that how?
Because I saw it on the Life 360.
When?
That would have been, I saw it briefly on my phone on the 10th, and I saw it on my mom's phone.
So you're saying that you could notice that that was the part of the forest you were entering that you remembered seeing on a phone the day before?
I recall that her spot was in the forest. There was no indication of where I should enter. I was just more trying to get to that spot.
And you're saying that you know that because you know that area was the area that you saw the day before on the phone?
I knew that area because it's right after Honolulu. I kind of recognized the bend and the bridge.
Did you know where Paraquats was?
No, I had never heard of that.
Did you know
spot.
where Paraquats was relative to Honolulu Bay?
No, I didn't.
Were you familiar at all with that area prior to being out there for this search?
I did kind of check it out on the maps and everything, but prior to all of this, no, I was not familiar with that area.
Because you actually thought Paraquats was past KNI, right?
Yes, I did. At some point, yes.
So how was it that you knew that this was the Paraquats area that you had seen the day before on that phone?
I had checked in with our map people. I just checked to make sure that that area was...
What map people?
Can't recall the names. We did have a few people come in. Yeah, I can't recall the names.
And this would have been, when, March?
Not March, in February, during that time.
Before February 12th?
Yes.
And you don't know the names of these people at all?
Mm-mm.
Because you said you recognized the area when you testified to these ladies and gentlemen, but you didn't talk about talking with map people to recognize that area, right?
Judge, objection is argumentative.
The objection is sustained.
Thank you.
So you find that DVD, and what happens next?
I had heard Max and Molly calling me, so I walked, or I found them. I just kept on following their voice.
And that's based on your independent recollection?
Yes.
You went from finding the DVD to grabbing the DVD and going to Molly's. That's your independent recollection?
Yeah, I did walk a little ways. I remember smelling something and then hearing Max and Molly, and I walked towards them.
How long between the time you found the DVD and heard Max and Molly yell?
It was probably only a minute.
And so you run to Max and Molly,
Yes.
and they had already picked up the skirt with the stick?
It was the shirt, and when I saw them.
I'm sorry, was it the skirt or
It was the
shirt?
shirt that she held up with the stick.
Okay, I'm sorry, your testimony is that when you got there, you saw Molly had picked up what? The skirt or the shirt?
The shirt.
Now, you recall testifying at a grand jury hearing on Friday, February 12th, 2016?
Yes.
Page,
36.
which line are we looking
You go 2 through 8. You recall telling the grand jury there that you had yelled at Max and Molly. I'm sorry, I had yelled at Max and Molly that I had
at?
found
You know,
something.
I'd asked for the proper process. Reading verbatim is not the proper procedure.
The objection is to speak.
Do you recall what you told the grand jury back on July 12th, 2016? If not, looking at the transcript, does that refresh your recollection?
You know, that's the incorrect date.
The incorrect one?
The date. You got the wrong date.
You're looking at the grand jury transcript from Friday, February 12th, 2016. Refresh your recollection.
Yes, it would.
Okay, Mayor Pro Tem.
It's an error.
Has your recollection been refreshed as to what you told the grand jury relative to what Molly was picking up with the stick?
Yes.
Okay, well, what did you tell the grand jury?
I had told them that it was the skirt.
Mayor Pro Tem? Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes.
And what happens next?
I had told them that I smelled something, and we all went towards the river.
I guess before you guys go to the river, do you at any time see both the shirt and the skirt?
Briefly, yes.
I guess when you say briefly that you saw it, how brief was that?
I saw it, realized it was hers, and then walked towards the river.
And then walked,
Walked towards the river.
and that was in pursuit of that smell that you were
Yes.
testifying about? When you saw, let me ask you this, did you ever see the tank top and the skirt in its original position prior to Molly picking up one of the items of the stick?
No, I had not.
when you, well, do you actually make it to the river area?
Yes.
And where are Max and Molly when you make it there?
I believe they were right next to me.
Did you guys all go down there at the same time, or were they already there?
No, I believe we all got there at the same time.
And then what happens?
We saw the blanket that was halfway in the river and halfway stuck on a branch. And I tried to grab it, but saw the maggots and kind of slipped into the river. And Max grabbed it and put it on the rock. We both saw the gray sweatshirt, I believe.
Okay. On that note, when you get down to the river, can you describe the proximity of these items relative to each other?
They were all within a few.
And maybe if I could start, I guess, if the jury is the river and I'm you, are you looking at the river like this?
Yes.
Okay. What is the first thing you see, I guess, well, what is the first thing you see when you get there?
I just see the river. I kind of scanned it and I saw the blanket.
Okay, and where do you see the blanket if I'm you? Is it straight ahead or is it?
It was probably a little bit to the right, but for the most part straight ahead.
Okay. And that you testified is hanging off a branch, partially in the water?
Yeah.
So by no means submerged in the water totally, just part of it is in the water?
Yeah.
About how much of the blanket's in the water?
Probably about a quarter of it.
And would this be in the middle portion of the stream or towards the other bank of the stream or near the closer bank of the stream?
It was the further part of the bank. River.
What's the next item closest to the blanket that you see?
That would have been, I can't recall for sure. I believe it was the gray jacket though.
So if the blanket's kind of straight ahead, maybe to the right, how far is that from the blanket?
That was towards the bay, probably just a few steps away.
And when you say just a few steps away, are you talking just a few, about if from here, as I back up, tell me when to stop.
Probably about there.
So about 6 feet?
Yeah.
So is that the sweatshirt?
Yes. It was
It's about 6 feet downstream of the blanket. Is that accurate?
Yes.
What's the next thing you see in proximity to the sweatshirt?
I believe it was the black pants that I saw next, or someone saw next.
And where is this location in proximity to the sweatshirt?
About the same distance, just on the other side of the river.
When you say the other side of the river, is it near the other bank then?
No, more towards the dirt road. So on the opposite side of the blanket and the jacket.
So the bank closest to where you're standing?
Yes.
And I'm sorry, how far downstream would it have been, if any, from where the gray sweatshirt is?
I believe it was right across from the gray sweatshirt, so same distance.
So about 6 feet downstream of the blanket, but I guess on the other side of the stream from the gray sweatshirt?
Yes.
So the jeans is it touching the bank of the stream that you're standing on? Or is it in the middle of the river, or is it more towards the middle of the river?
That I don't recall. It was more Max grabbing those things.
But can we be clear that when you arrive, those things are still spread out and not collected yet?
Yes.
Okay. And so, where would the 2 rolls of tape be? I guess what else is left? We got the blanket, the sweatshirt, the jeans.
And then the 2 empty rolls of tape.
And where would those be in proximity for everything?
I know those ones were closer to the black pants, and they were in the water, probably maybe a foot away.
Okay, so they would have been on the bank side of the stream
Closest.
that you were on, near the jeans, and your testimony is that both rolls were in the water?
Yes.
And if I recall your testimony on direct, they were kind of wedged in rocks?
Yeah, it was just like a little puddle that they were in.
And so as you observed them, they were both, in terms of proximity to each other, how far apart were they from each other?
They were really close.
So maybe if you can stop
Probably
my
even
hands when you
touching.
see the gap.
They were really close,
Like
probably
this?
even touching, yeah.
Okay.
Kinda.
About 3 inches, 2 or 3 inches
Yes.
apart, underwater, under some rocks.
Yeah, they were kind of floating.
Okay, I just want to pin this down. When you say they're in the water, I guess pinned in rocks,
They weren't pinned in the rocks. It was like a little tiny pond out of rocks that they were kind of in.
a tiny pile of rocks that they were in.
Objection. I think she's in a tiny pond of rocks,
Yeah,
not
like
pile of
a
rocks.
pool of water. Yeah.
And so would both tape rolls have been submerged in the water, or were they partially out of the water?
I think they were floating, but it was so shallow there that they were could have just been sitting on the rocks.
Would it be your testimony that when you first found any items, you marked the area,
Yes.
and that was when you first found them?
Yes.
So your testimony would be that when you found the DVD, you put a marker in that area?
I actually, I believe I put my own marker, but I didn't have one of the,
I'm sorry, you believe you put your what marker?
my own kind of marker, meaning like I put something there that would remind me. I didn't have any of the tape with me that actually we used for the marking.
And I think your testimony was that you took pictures as you found the DVD, or you took a picture when you found the DVD?
You did.
So your testimony would be that the picture of that DVD is taken before you go and meet with Max and Molly?
Yes.
What would be the distance, in your estimation, between where you found the DVD and where the blue tank top and the skirt was found?
You know, like a foundation, speculation.
The objection is sustained.
Could you, well, when Molly, I guess called out, Molly and Max called out that they found this stuff, how long did it take you to, did you run to their area?
As fast as I could, yes.
And how long did it take you to run there?
Definitely no more than 5 minutes. I would say probably like 3 minutes.
So it'd be about 3 minutes, is that?
Yeah, maybe not even that. It didn't take that long at all.
Now, if it was about 15 minutes from leaving the bay to going into the forest, how long are we now that we're at the stream, that you're at the stream? How long
It,
from the time that you were at the bay?
it probably would have been about a half an hour.
So it would be a half an hour at the point in time when you are first at the stream from when you guys left the bay.
Yes.
And you'd agree with me that if there was only a little bit of light at the bay a half an hour ago, it must be getting pretty dark when you arrive at the stream and see the items, right?
Yes.
Maybe this is a good time now?
All right, we'll adjourn for the day, ladies and gentlemen. And we'll see you on Monday, July 18th at 9 a.m. Please keep in mind the cautionary instructions that will be in effect, and they're very important. Thank you so much for your services, and we'll look forward to seeing you next week. Thank you.